Alright, welcome back for some more fun with fractions. Here I wanted to talk about comparing fractions. And so comparing them says that you're essentially trying to determine which one is larger. And the biggest advice I can give you here is do not assume. Just because you have smaller numbers does not always mean that you have a smaller fraction. Sometimes smaller numbers will actually signify a larger fraction. So, a lot of times in our examples, not only do we have to determine which is larger, but we also have to determine by how much. So, I have this example here that says that I want to determine which fraction is larger between 2/3 and 5/7. The first thing I want to do is we need to find the least common multiple so that we can make the fractions equal in value. Therefore, all we have to do is compare your numerators to determine which one is larger. To determine how much larger, you will need to subtract your fractions. So, when we have 2/3 and 5/7, we need to look at finding that least common multiple. Well, we know both 3 and 7 are prime, so your least common multiple here is going to be 3 times 7, which is going to give you 21 as a result. So the first thing that we would have to look at is, how do I turn 3 into 21? Well, that's multiplied by 7. So this is going to be 2 times 7 over 21. And then I'm comparing that to the next one. So how do I turn 7 into 21? I multiply by 3. So this is going to be 5 times 3 over 21. So when I look at that, 2 times 7 is going to give me 14 over 21. 5 times 3 is 15 over 21. So what do we know? Well, we know that 14 is less than 15. Therefore, we can conclude that 2/3 is less than 5/7. Okay. Now the second part wants to know by how much. So we have to be able to subtract. So this is going to end up being 15 over 21 minus 14 over 21. Now the reason why I'm jumping here instead of coming all the way back to the beginning is because I'd have to do all the same work to get there. So don't work harder, work smarter. And so in this case we end up with 1 over 21. Okay? So we conclude that 2/3 is less than 5/7, and that 5/7 is 1 over 21 larger than 2/3. So it's a very close margin. Now the other thing that we could do with them is we could do what's called ordering your fractions. Ordering your fractions just simply means order them from either least to greatest or greatest to least. And that's going to just depend on your definition. Again, you need to find the least common multiple of all your fractions so that you can compare equal fractions. So here we want to arrange the set of 3, and we want to go from smallest to largest. Then we want to find the difference between the largest and the smallest. So I have 5/8, 25 over 48, and 9 over 16. So here I would go ahead and find my divide out by primes. So 8 goes into 2 and 4, and 4 breaks down to 2 and 2, which leaves me with 2 cubed. My 48 can break into 6 and 8. 6 breaks down into 2 and 3. 8 breaks down into 2 and 4. 4 breaks down into 2 and 2. So if you look at it, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 2 to the 4th times 3 to the 1st. My 16 will also break down into 2 times 8. 8 breaks into 2 times 4. 4 breaks into 2 times 2. So this is 2 to the 4th. So if we look at it, we are going to use 2 to the 4th and 3 to the 1st. So my least common multiple here is going to be 2 to the 4th times 3 to the 1st, which in looking at that is going to give me 48. So I have to look at how do I turn each of my fractions into 48. Well, to turn 8 into 48, I have to multiply by 6. So this is going to become 5 times 6 over 48. I'm going to leave my middle fraction alone because it already has a 48 in the bottom, so this is going to be 25 over 48. And then 16 into 48, I got to multiply by 3. So this is 9 times 3 over 48. So as I continue to compare them, this is going to be 30 over 48, 25 over 48, 27 over 48. So we know that 30 is greater than 27 is greater than 25. So if I want to go from smallest to largest, it says the first thing that we're going to have is we're going to start with 25 over 48. The next fraction in line is going to be 27 over 48, and finally we're going to end with 30 over 48. And here is the first part of our solution. Now the second part says that we need to find the difference between the largest and the smallest. So we have to do 30 over 48 minus 25 over 48. And when we do that, we end up with 5 over 48 as our difference. So this problem has two solutions. The first was ordering it, and the second was finding the difference of it. So in a nutshell, that is what you would need to know in order to compare your fractions or order your fractions depending on what your directions say. So as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, make sure to just keep smiling, ask tons of questions, be sure to have lots of fun with your math, and as always, I'll see you next time.